In this video, we build a simple coffee table, and we find that doing something simple can still have its own complexities. This project starts with these ash dowels which will form the legs of the table. In the first part of this video, I'm cutting in the circular tenons which will connect the legs to the tabletop. I did this by first cutting the tenon with a hole saw and then finishing up on the router table. Now, a key design feature of the table will be the horizontal stretchers, which are positioned off-center to the legs. For this, I need to use a deep bore hole saw, which can cut through the entire depth of the leg dowel. Then it's just a matter of aligning the holes on the drill press and carefully cutting them out. I used a piece of scrap wood taped to the end to act as a reference of the dowel orientation. This ensured my cuts were always perpendicular to each other. Once I had a system in place, I repeated the process for the other 3 legs. Now I could begin to attach the stretchers, and I'm using a soft wood for this, redwood pine, because I felt the wood had a really dramatic grain, and it would look great at the joint where it intersects with the vertical leg. I firstly glued the stretchers into place. Once dry, I trimmed off the excess with a pull saw. Then the next stage is to shape the joint on my sander. I wanted the curve of the stretcher end to appear tangent to the leg itself, so sanding this whole assembly as one piece was a great way to ensure the joint was seamless. As good as this was, some hand sanding was still required. It was at this point I had to take a break from the workshop for a bit for various other commitments. On my return though, I was so happy to be back, I started moving in slow motion. For the short side stretchers, I had to have a different approach as I couldn't shape the joint as one connected assembly. So instead I had to shape the stretcher ahead of gluing it, and I did this by taping it to a bit of scrap dowel and shaping the end as I did previously. With all the leg assembly parts complete, I could begin to assemble the base together and check the fit. Once I was happy with this, I glued it all up. With the base more or less done, I could turn my attention to the tabletop, which is made of a piece of veneered plywood. I simply had to mark out the spacing for the mortises for my leg tenons in the top. wanted the end grain of the tenon to be exposed, so using a drill I made the holes go all the way through the tabletop. You know, sometimes working in this small studio, it feels like the more I'm cleaning up things, the more junk actually emerges. So with the tabletop ready, I could join it to my leg assembly, and I realized the fit was very tight, so I just went straight in with the glue. It was at this point I could see a lot of the design details were starting to shine through, and I felt excited to near the completion of the table. The next step was to add edge banding to cover the plywood edges, and for this I used sapele strips, which I cut with my small miter box and a pull saw. I glued these in place and basically taped the living daylights out of them. It almost felt like wrapping up a Christmas present to myself. At this point I could also flush cut my leg tenons. With that all unwrapped, I could now trim down all the excess edge banding, firstly with the block plane. After that I went over everything with an orbital sander, sanding up to 180 grit. I used some wood glue and sawdust to fill in any small holes or gaps. I then made sure to go over the leg assembly with sandpaper up to 180 grit as well, which I had to do by hand, and this went well into the evening. The next day though, I was able to paint on my logo and start to apply the finish. I'm using Osmo Polyx Satin for this, which is a hard wax oil. It was as simple as wiping on with a lint-free cloth, waiting for it to absorb, and then wiping off the excess. And with that, the table was complete. Now when I said this project is simple at the beginning of this video, it's because it kind of had to be. This is actually my first woodworking project, so I wanted to use this opportunity to build something that aligns with my limited skill set and knowledge. Nonetheless, despite being simple, it still showcases some of the design detailing and joinery approaches I wish to continue to develop over the course of my woodworking journey. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video. If you know anyone else who might also enjoy this video, please pass it on. Until next time.